How is the big political fight over Pari'war playing out in the eyes of the Indian voter? Results of the political stock exchange poll done by C Voter coming up on the news track tonight.
परिवार बात पर हमला कर रहा है। अरे भाई तुम बताओ ना कि तुमको क्यों परिवार में कोई संतान नहीं तुमको हुआ बताओ।
Lalu taunts Prime Minister on Pari'war.
140 करोड़ देशवासी यही मेरा परिवार है, जिसका कोई नहीं है वो भी मोदी के हैं और मोदी उनका है।
Prime Minister counters with emotional pitch. India ally hits out at Lalu.
अब परिवार पे हमने खुल्लम खुल्ला उनको गोल दे दिया और उन्होंने मौके का इस्तेमाल किया और बड़े तरीके से किया। कहा कि मोदी उनका है जिनका कोई नहीं, और हमारे पास इसका जवाब ही नहीं है। हमें इस तरह की सियासत जो है वो छोड़ के हमें लोगों के मुद्दों की सियासत करनी चाहिए। ये चौकीदार, ये अदानी अंबानी, ये राफेल, ये परिवार, ये चलता नहीं।
Pari'war attack a self-goal by opposition. Will Modi ka Pari'war benefit BJP? What do voters think of personal attacks on Prime Minister? The most definitive sentiment tracker. Political stock exchange.
The big political issue this week was the Modi ka Parivar campaign. Lalu Yadav attacking the Prime Minister, saying he didn't have a family. Prime Minister Modi, as he often does, trying to use that attack into a counter-attack and getting all the BJP big guns to be part of the Modi ka Parivar campaign. So how is this playing out in the electoral battlefield when it comes to public opinion? To talk about the findings of the C Voter political tracker for this week, I'm joined in this week's edition of the Political Stock Exchange by Yashwant Deshmukh, lead cephalogist at C Voter. Tuhin Sinha is the national spokesperson of the BJP. Mohan Kumar Mangalam is back with us, national spokesperson of the Congress. And for political perspective, I'm joined by leading analyst Ashutosh and by Raghav Avasthi. I want to start by taking the results of the first question, which really seeks to establish whether or not in a random stratified sample telephonic call, do even people know about the fact that there's been this exchange between the Prime Minister and Lalu Yadav? So let me take you through the results of the first question. What's the level of awareness on the issue of this whole political fracas over the Modi ka Parivar campaign? Here are the results to the first question posed by C Voter in this week's political tracker. Are you aware of the Lalu versus Modi Parivar exchange? Because let's begin with that basic premise. So 41% of the overall voters say yes, they are fully aware. 34% say they have no clues, which means 1 in 3 voter has absolutely no clue. And 25%, which is 1 in 4, have some idea about it but don't know the specifics. Only 4 in 10 know the specifics. Now, when you break that down to NDA voters, only half the NDA voters say they are fully aware, 21% say they don't know, and about 1/4 say they have heard about it. After this, let's come to the second question we posed on this week's Political Stock Exchange. Here are the responses to the question on whether the Modi ka Parivar campaign will help the BJP. Now, 47% of the overall voters seem to think that yes, it can help the BJP. 37% say no, it will not help the BJP. 8% say it could help to some extent, and 8% say they can't say. Remember, and quite naturally, 66% of NDA voters say yes, this campaign will help the BJP. Amongst the opposition voters as well, 1 in 3 say that this could help the BJP. And that's really where I want to start from, because if I join the dots, Yashwant Deshmukh, and try and draw a picture across several of your political stock exchange trackers, it would seem to me that even amongst opposition voters, now imagine if you're a hardcore opposition voter and 1 in 3 hardcore opposition voters start saying that campaigns which are pro-Modi, like the Modi ka Parivar campaign, could help the BJP. Does that then reflect to you that the political convictions of some of these opposition voters is now wavering?
Well, Rahul, I think it's a common sense of sort in that way that in the last 10 years, people have realized that anything taken in campaign which goes personally against Mr. Modi is only going to help him. And even a significant number of opposition voters, they realize that. What is surprising is that many of the opposition leaders per se, they don't really, I don't know if they realize them, they are still in denial mode, or sometimes they do it just to check if it is still like so, and they are kind of doing a check that, okay, abhi kare to theek rahega kya, ab iska asar hoga kya. So all in all, I believe that the personal attack on Prime Minister Modi has been backfiring.
No, but that's a real
along
challenge then
nothing.
from the opposition's perspective, Ashutosh, because kare to kare kya? You can't say don't attack this person because you have a Teflon image or because you could turn the attack into a counter attack. Because if they try and attack the Prime Minister, he turns it around into a counter attack, and he's been doing it from the Maut Ka Saudagar time, the Chai Wala Jibe, Chaukidar Chore. He's done it multiple times. He's trying to do it again. And even 1 in 3 opposition voters seem to think that this could help the BJP.
First of all, I do not believe that this is really going to help BJP for the simple reason. The BJP has won in 2014 because Manishankar Ayyar has jibe about Chai Wala, and then in 2019 it is Chaukidar Chor. If the election has been so simple, then obviously...
No, but you fought elections, Ashutosh. It's never so simple. This is just adding to the mahal. Trying to convince the unconvinced, or just building the narrative. It's the layer on top of the campaign. It can never really be the defining moment of the campaign.
No. I see. I had long back. I had written an article that the science of electioneering by the BJP, and I put this victimhood syndrome as a number 3 in the order. The first was I am a Hindu, second othering the other. So it helps Narendra Modi to present a narrative that how opposition is trying to target me and how I have been a victim. But the fact of the matter is, BJP do not win elections just because somebody has made a comment on him or somebody has made a jibe on him. The fact of the matter is that it is good for the propaganda. That's all. It doesn't add a single or a vote to the BJP. BJP wins on other factors. BJP wins on the personality of Narendra Modi. BJP wins for the Hindu consolidation. BJP wins for othering of the other. BJP wins for Labharti Yojana and several other factors. And BJP wins for the organizational muscle power. To believe that this helps in distracting the election campaign from the main issues. That's all. Otherwise, it has no impact, in my opinion, and it will never have an impact. I don't think Indian election is that simple.
Okay, let Tuhin Sinha respond to Ashutosh's charge about playing the victim card, constantly looking for an opportunity to other the other and to make it seem as if Hindus khatre mein hai, and to play the victim card, which, given the material facts on the ground of a massive majority for a government that is pro-Hindutva, is factually incorrect, and yet they like to play the victim card. Tuhin Sinha.
Well, good evening, Rahul. Good evening, everybody. The fact is, Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji had left his home, had quit his familial responsibilities at a very young age to sacrifice himself completely to the cause of the nation. So at this point of time, if somebody makes a jibe at him, and that too, a jibe which calls him familyless, it strikes a chord with all his supporters, with everybody who stands with him. So, I don't know why, he's being called a victim. He certainly, but then, the way he has been vilified from 2006, even before that. But from 2007 onwards, Sonia Gandhi's Maut Ka Saudagar onwards, I think every Congress leader and every opposition leader feels that his claim to fame or his, day in the sun comes by attacking Modi ji. And yes, we have found out a way to give it back to them. Modi ka Pari'war is 140 crore people. And when I say Modi ka Pari'war, look at there are reasons why people want to be counted as his Pari'war. When at this age, when he works till 3:30 in the morning and then starts his day again at 8:30, it shows a certain vocation which no other political leader has. Certainly not the likes of Lalu Yadav, whose son is accused of, acquiring a bungalow for 4 lakh instead of 1 for 50 crore, which is the worth of the of that bungalow? And who are the parivar of some of the opposition parties? I mean, Mamata Banerjee's parivar seems to be Sheikh Shahjahan.
So now let Mohan Kumaramangalam respond to this, because the perspective from the opposition lens seemed to be that the narrative isn't taking shape in any one concrete way. You know, the opposition leaders are firing these little jibes, each of them in their own regional context, attacking in Bihar Lalu for his Pari'war, which is actually just the most absurd thing to say about him, because he doesn't have family, doesn't have empathy. I mean, most sensible people won't agree with that. You've got in Tamil Nadu a situation where the DMK leader A. Raja is attacking the Prime Minister, attacking Ram Rajya, attacking Bhagwan Ram in a way that it's not connect. You know, it always seems to be putting the opposition on the defensive rather than taking an attack to put the government on the defensive, because of these little half missiles fired without thinking it through. Is the opposition not being able to build a cogent narrative? Mohan Kumaramangalam.
So Rahul, first I'll say that the soft-coated Modkas or rather government that came way back then was, I don't think, the only reason that we lost that election. There were several other reasons. Also, I'll say that Mr. Modi himself has lowered the level of discourse several times over by saying 50 crore ki girlfriend, Jersey Guy, Shehzad, Yuvraj, what have you. He doesn't shy away from taking personal jibes at the opposition or the leaders of the opposition. Now, I'll disagree with Ashutosh here, because I don't think this is about playing the victim. I think the central idea of Mr. Modi's argument is that because he doesn't have a family, he has no desire to accumulate ill-gotten gains because he has nobody to pass those gains on to. And frankly, it's a powerful argument, except if you look at the fact that there are several other reasons people accumulate assets. The chief amongst them are those to expand one's power and influence. In that sense, Mr. Modi has been the most expansionist and power-hungry seeking prime minister we've ever seen. He's used his and his friends' ill-gotten gains to not only grow organically in places that BJP never existed, but also acquire assets from his competitors in that space. So, and you know, because we're talking in political stock exchange, I'll continue with a business analogy here, or a markets analogy, and say that free markets only work when everyone has equal information and equal access to capital. But where the government here, Mr. Modi's government, is the only one who's had information about everyone else's capital source, which is the electoral bonds, and is making sure even today that nobody in the opposition or nobody in the public knows.
No, but while the Congress is raising this issue, Mohan Kumaramangalam, the fact also is, no, once again, hear what I'm saying. The Congress is raising this issue. You could make it a big issue and see whether it connects with voters, but allies aren't. So Lalu Yadav is one of your few allies who's left. The DMK is still with you. They're not talking the same language. The point that I'm making is that the India alliance is speaking in disparate voices. It's not coming together in any meaningful fashion in one campaign. You're not all saying the same thing. Now, when Modi decides Modi ka parivar, everyone goes the whole hog on that.
Everyone in the BJP goes all hog on that, Rahul. But I don't know if first of all, who are the BJP's alliance partners? I don't think they've sealed up an alliance deal with anybody yet. I have not seen a seat sharing agreement with anybody been announced yet. Let's assume it does happen. Then you will see that if they also toe the same line or not. When you have alliance partners, especially in states that have strong regional identities, those leaders will talk the language that they think is going to convert votes for them in this election. You don't all have to follow the same thing. And again, the India Alliance is an alliance of many leaders. Many of them are equals, and there are some who would consider themselves first among equals. So all of them want to contribute to the narrative. It isn't like Mr. Modi's alliance or the NDA, which really is just Mr. Modi and several little unknown parties that might or might not toe the line, depending on what comes out in the seat sharing.
Okay, I want to take the next question on our screen right now about whether Prime Minister Modi seems to be mastering the art of turning criticism into opportunity. Here are the responses to this question. Question number 3 on this week's Political Stock Exchange. Is the PM mastering the art of turning criticism into opportunity? Of the overall respondents in this question, 69.5% have said yes, he has mastered the art of turning criticism into opportunity. 21% say no. So 69.5% saying yes, 21% saying no. That's on the question of whether Modi's mastered the art of turning criticism into opportunity. Has Lalu's "Modi has no family" remark turned out to be a self-goal for the opposition? Let's take a look at the responses to this question. 45% of the overall respondents in this sample say yes, this is a self-goal for the opposition. 25% saying no, 30% say they can't say. So 3 in 10 voters say we really don't know. 45%, which is almost half the voters, say it is a self-goal. Now, Ashutosh, you know, Do you think the opposition is scoring too many self-goals? This point that I was raising with Mohan Kumaramangalam, he's disagreeing. But the reality seems to be they're not landing punches which deliver. They're not hitting the target. They are scoring these goals, not necessarily thinking through how the Prime Minister may react, how they may counter-attack using the same attack. And it's happened in the past with Chaukidar Chor Hai in the last elections. Do you think they're just bowling too many loose balls to Prime Minister Modi, who's a master at hitting it out of the park?
Rahul, two things. First of all, I think the opposition still has not been successful in creating a cohesive, cogent narrative against the Prime Minister or against the BJP. And that's one reason, because there are a coalition by nature is a bundle of contradictions. There are too many political parties, too many views, too many ideologies, where everybody is speaking out of their hat. That's one reason, and the Prime Minister is very, very good in terms of picking up one particular theme and then attacking a position. And he is exactly doing in each and every election. But the fact is he winning because of this? As I have said earlier, no, he's not winning because of this. But it helps him in diverting the tension. It helps him in making opposition defensive. But if Lalu's jibe in Bihar, whether it is having some connection with Lalu's voter, I'll say yes, up to a certain extent, yes. Whether Narendra Modi's Pari'war counter attack on Lalu Yadav in terms of Pari'war is making a connect in Bihar, I don't agree with this. Lalu is equally, don't forget it, Lalu is the original master of communication. The way he used to communicate, we in Delhi, sitting in Delhi, always used to mock him, always used to say him, usko to kuch nahi aata, kya bakwas baatein karte. But it is because of the Lalu's connect with the people and the phraseology he's used. He ruled for 15 years and still his connect with his masses is very, very good. So when Lalu is saying that Modi is not a Hindu because apni maa ki mrityu ke baad unhone apne baal nahi kataye, this is a typical Hindu sentiment which works in Bihar and UP, and especially in Bihar.
Raghav Awasthi, how do you respond to Ashutosh's argument that don't have one simplistic binary in terms of good and bad, in terms of how people are reacting to these assertions in Bihar amongst Lalu's voters in that catchment area? We've seen how he turned Mohan Bhagwatji's comments on caste into a formidable attack in the 2015 elections. Ashutosh is arguing it plays out differently. It may play out on India Today television very differently from how it plays out in the back and beyond of rural Bihar.
There are two things here. Ashutosh made some points in his earlier segment, which I completely agree with. There are three pillars to Mr. Modi's success. One, of course, is the Labharti, then there is Hindutva, and then the third pillar is the BJP's organizational muscle. So Ashutosh is right when he says that these are the three big pillars. However, when comments like this are made, what happens is that there is a 1% accretion. Maybe out of, let's say, 100 people, if one person changes his or her mind, because of a comment like this, it can actually make the difference between winning and losing in a lot of marginal constituencies. So I don't agree with him when he says that it will have no impact. Now, as far as Lalu Prasad Yadav is concerned, a lot has been said about him, and I had written about this with him as well. He did rule for 15 years. Ashutosh is right about that, but we cannot lose sight of the fact that he actually won only one election on his own steam, which was in 1995. In 2000, of course, it was not such a clear-cut verdict. So I don't think Lalu Prasad Yadav is as big a leader, even in the context of Bihar, as he's made out to be. And I really do think that he's speaking through his heart. He's perhaps desperate.
Ashutosh, you want to respond to this? That Lalu is no longer the formidable political force he was in the 90s because of his health, because of the cases, because of how India has changed since then. He's a far more diminished force than from his prime, and therefore you can't compare what used to happen at the peak of the Lalu magic to Lalu today. He's not the same person and India has changed. You're on mute, Ashutosh.
Up to a certain extent, I agree with you, but the point is what? The Bihar politics is so poised that even Nitish Kumar cannot be said as a great leader, the big leader, because Nitish has never got a majority on its own. Similarly, if you go to the Maharashtra, none of the leaders have got a majority on their own. So if you are using that yardstick for that measure, there will be many leaders who will be undermined by that argument. But the fact is, Lalu's stature in politics will not be judged by what he did as a chief minister, but how he has generated a kind of consciousness among the downtrodden, among the Dalits, among the among the lower state of the society. He has given voice to the voiceless. That's the most important part. We are forgetting it, and it's one reason that the BJP has not been able to form a government in Bihar, despite being in North India. In UP, it could form the government, but in Bihar, it has failed to do that.
And the reality also is, Tuhin Sinha, when the Prime Minister was in Betia this week, he wasn't as trenchant in his attack on Parivarvad as he was elsewhere. So he spoke much more about Parivarvad in Telangana than he did attacking Lalu in Bihar, because he also knows, like Modi is a political khiladi, Lalu is also a political khiladi. You over-attack him and Lalu can also start playing the victim card and build a fear psychosis. So it cuts both ways, is the argument that Ashutosh is building.
Well, Lalu is a man of many parts. Apart from the masked leader, which Ashutosh ji believes him to be still, I think he's also a convicted criminal. That also needs to be highlighted. Now, the fact is, the message through this entire episode has been very clear. You know, there is Pari'war, which is a biological Pari'war, and then there is a Pari'war which you build on your trust, on your goodwill, and on your credibility. And that is where Modi ji scores over all of these people. You know, let me reverse the situation to you. Let me reverse the question to you and ask these people. Who is Akhilesh Yadav's Pari'war? You know, Atiq Ahmed. Who is Mamta? Why would Mamta Banerjee go to the extent that she did to protect the Shah Jahan? Is he a family member? You know, compare that with Modi ji's goodwill across vast sections of society. You know, there was an argument just preceding my, before I come in, about who won where, who won the second term. But the fact is, only BJP chief ministers have been winning second terms, whether it is in Madhya Pradesh, whether it is in UP or in Gujarat, you know, again and again.
Let Mohan Kumaramangalam come in on this. The idea that pro-incumbency is something which seems to only benefit the BJP wherever the Congress is up for re-election, whether it is in a state where you are supposedly formidable like Chhattisgarh or in Rajasthan. You're seeing what's happening in Himachal Pradesh, where that's the one speck in North India where you're in power. The Congress simply can't hold it together. So the BJP says ultimately 5 years later, when voters have to judge, they're weighing in our favor and against you. You have never got any pro-incumbency of late.
Of late, as evidence suggests, you're right, Rahul, there's no denying it. But to say that the BJP never has anti-incumbency also would be untrue, right? They lost the last round that happened in 18. So they lost Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. So it's not that only BJP leaders have pro-incumbency. And if Mr. Tuhin Sinha...
No, but it's all relative, right? They have much more pro-incumbency and you have a lot of anti-incumbency. You're looking at the one exception.
I am agreeing with you. I am agreeing with you when you say of late. I'm not agreeing with you when you say in toto for the last, maybe further on 10, 15 years, there are many times where the BJP has lost an anti-incumbency. And even of late, if you want to include Karnataka in that list, they had massive anti-incumbency from their government. They tried whatever they could to change. But I think one of the biggest reasons they lost Karnataka, despite Mr. Modi leading the campaign and making it about himself, as he did in Himachal, they lost badly. So let's not have a north-centric view of this country. Let's think about it in toto. And Karnataka, even if you go off late, proves against that point.
Yashwant Deshmukh, the Congress's hope, when Mohan Kumaramangalam latches on to off late, the Congress's hope really is that time badlega, apna time aayega, that this is a kal, this is a period that at some point in time, anti-incumbency will start catching up with the BJP and this political cycle will turn. This is how a lot of Congress people, Yashwant Deshmukh, are internalizing it. The BJP, of course, at the highest levels thinks that, we just need to go so far deep, have such a deep impact on society and weaken the Congress so much that there is nothing left to beat us. Like they simply don't have the organizational muscle to be able to beat us. Whereas the BJP's, on the counter to that, the Congress's calculation is, it's a political cycle. Everybody has a cycle. Apna time aayega.
That default gain phenomena, I guess that's no more happening anymore. I guess that, yes, the anti-incumbency cycles working in default for somebody else, it used to work, but it used to work for people who were more or less neutral or passively waiting. But here you are looking at not just the passive waiting, but actually kind of an opposition alliance which is not really in sync, not really thinking the big picture on its own. Say, where I differ from Ashutosh, I tell you what is happening. I agree with him on Lalu Yadav's master communicator thing that he is communicating to his masses. Problem, Ashutosh, is Lalu Yadav doesn't really care that if this works for me in Bihar, good enough. I don't care if it hits Congress outside Bihar. Stalin's son doesn't care if it is working okay for his Dravidian vote base, but if it is hitting Congress and opposition alliance in other states. So what is happening?
That's an important point. Mohan Kumaramangam, do you buy this argument by Yashwant Deshmukh that the problem with the India alliance in the way that it's structured is that your allies don't care about how that particular point of attack plays out outside, whether it's a Tamil Nadu or a Bihar? That DMK doesn't care. As long as it's resonating in the Dravidian vote structure, they're okay. Lalu Yadav doesn't care what's happening in Tamil Nadu. He wants to deal with his votes.
You know, if that was true, Rahul, then I don't see why Udaynidhi Stalin would then come on, camera after that to all the national broadcast media and say that that's not what he meant, that his understanding of Sanatana Dharma was a caste system. He'd have no reason to give a clarification.
What happened with Mr. Raja's statements?
Well, I was on a show with Rahul about this just I think a few days ago.
Okay, Yashwant, let him speak. Let Mohan Kumaramangam conclude. Go on.
Yashwant, I condemn Mr. Raja's statement, and I'm against the fact that he even said that. I think he was wrong. But to take Mr. Raja's statement and then say that all allies don't care about how their statements have a broader impact outside their states, I gave you Udaynidhi Stalin's example to say that is not entirely true. So you have an example, I have an example.
Okay, Yashwant, quick counter before I go across to the others.
No, my only concern is that all the India alliance partners, they are doing good politics, and I've been praising them that to counter the Modi wave, to counter the BJP in their own territory. But the problem is that even if they safeguard their own territory by all these statements, all their political lines, and the way they are going about this election is only ending up hurting the biggest player, that is the Congress, in the seats where it is the Congress.
Let Ashutosh come in on the point that Yashwant was making about the opposition being highly passive. This idea that a lot of Congress leaders have internalized, you must have picked it up as well, Ashutosh. They seem to think that this is just a period. This is a kal, the wheel of political fortune will turn. Ye Modi ka time hai, iske baad apna time aayega. It's only inevitable all across the world. Going back in time, anti-incumbency is inevitable. Abhi nahi dikhti, but dikhegi. 5 saal mein dikhegi. That's their calculation. The BJP's calculation is, boss, by the end of it, the Congress will be so weak that you won't have anything to fight with us.
Rahul, I agree that this is cyclical. There is no doubt about it. This is cyclical. But to say that the pro-incumbency is only because of the Narendra Modi and the BJP, I do not agree. If you look at the last 30 years of Indian politics, you will realize Digvijay Singh has 2 consecutive terms. And after that, Shivraj Singh Chauhan has the 3 consecutive terms. You go to Assam, the 3 consecutive terms for the for the Congress party under Tarun Gogoi. You go to the Delhi, the 3 consecutive terms again under Sheila Dikshit. You go to Maharashtra, 3 consecutive terms under the Congress and NCP. And then you go to Bihar, 3 consecutive terms Lalu Yadav and then the BJP and Janata Dal United. You go to Gujarat, 34 years almost. In Tamil Nadu, there are 2 consecutive terms with Jayalalitha. Then you go to KCR, again 2 consecutive terms. Bengal, 3 consecutive terms. So this is not. And you go
Raghav Avasthi, respond to Ashutosh that pro-incumbency is no one party's domain. Kisi ki bapauti nahi hai. If you work hard, whether you are in Gujarat or you are in Assam or Delhi, no matter which party is in power, there can be pro-incumbency. So it's not limited to the BJP and it's not limited to Prime Minister Modi. Raghav Avasthi.
Ashutosh ji made some very good points, but I think there is one point on which he will not disagree, which is that BJP governments are re-elected with more regularity than Congress government. I think this is something that has been empirically proven, and there needs to be no debate on that. Yes, there are other regional parties that are very formidable. I think he mentioned the BJD also, which is an electoral phenomenon. That's one. The second point is this, that of course politics is cyclical, democratic politics is cyclical across the world, but what the Congress has done wrong, in my opinion, is that its geographical footprint is now severely shrunk. So since it is shrunk, even if, let's say, it wins the next election in 2029 or 2034, for it now, winning would mean probably 100 or 150 seats, because the situation is such that it is competitive only in, let's say, around 250 or 300 seats. So in Tamil Nadu, which is a state which it did rule for the first 15 years of independence, and the DMK was the party that unseated it, Now they are happy with parroting whatever the DMK has to say. In Uttar Pradesh, for example, which used to be a bastion for the Congress post-independence or even before independence, today they are happy with playing second fiddle to the SP. So if you have a passive attitude, it's that you're not going to win in life or in politics. That's my point.
Let Mohan Kumaramangalam. Yes, Ashutosh.
Just 10 seconds. See, BJP is a resurgent power, it's an emerging power, and the Congress has been a declining power for the last 2 decades. But despite that, the accidental prime minister, the weakest prime minister, as BJP said, Manmohan Singh had a second term with enhanced seats. So that means any government which seems to be working for the people, I'm talking about perception, the people are electing that government. Be it the BJP government or the Trinamool Congress government or the Delhi government in Delhi under Arvind Kejriwal. 3 consecutive terms. That's my point.
Okay, let me take the next question on our screen right now. Will the Modi ka Parivar attack have the same impact as the Chaukidar Chor? And remember, I'm always concerned about the recency bias, which means you're asking this question now, comparing it with an event from 5 years ago, and therefore sometimes your responses are skewed by the fact that you've just heard of this and that seems like a distant memory. So keep that in mind as you look at the responses to this question posed by Yashwant's team. Will it have the same impact as maybe Chaukidar and Modi ka Parivar? So 42% say yes, 35% say no, 23% say they can't say. So 1 in 5 are confused, but 4 in 10 say that it could have the same impact. Yashwant Deshmukh, how do you compare these 2 campaigns? Remember, this one's just got started, so it's only been a few days. That played out over a much longer period. But when you try and compare the 2 campaigns, which one do you think may prove to be more effective? Yashwant.
I think the core voters of the BJP and the NDA, they will be more affected with that. At the same time, there would be a section of the opposition voter. I doubt that they will be swinging to the BJP for this particular thing. But yes, what the BJP might achieve from this campaign is the reconsolidation of their own support base, which they have been, by the way, right from the Ayodhya Pran Pratishtha to everything else in between, have been doing consistently, because they know that there could be a complacency factor, there could be a lethargy, there could be kind of anmanapan, which might bring the turnout down as far as the BJP is concerned, and that might hurt them as it hurt them badly in 2004. They are very, very clear. They don't want a repetition of 2004, where a big chunk of their voters, they just sit at home thinking that we are winning and something else happens on the...
No, but there is a counter to this. You're saying the BJP is trying to ward off complacency, which they absolutely are, because they're going all out to try and mobilize their base and get extra votes on their bandwagon. But here's the point I want to make, and I want to make it through data. If you look at the opposition voters, when they were asked whether the Modi ka Parivar campaign will be as effective as Main Bhi Chaukidar, 30% are saying yes. These are opposition voters. 29% are confused. They say pata nahi, can't say. 42% are saying no. So the level of conviction of opposition voters is only 4 in 10. Whereas the level of conviction of NDA voters on the same question, 63% said yes. So there's a 20% gap. If you look at this statistically, there's a 20% gap in the level of conviction of BJP NDA voters versus the level of conviction of opposition voters. Yashwant, I want to come back to that point I made. Just looking at this data statistically, the level of conviction of those who want the Modi government to come back to power is much higher than the level of convictions on a smaller base. The opposition base is already smaller. Think statistically. The opposition base is already smaller. In that smaller base, the level of conviction is lesser. In the BJP's larger political vote share base, the level of conviction towards the government coming back to power seems to be higher. That's what, Yashwant, your data seems to be suggesting.
Absolutely, Rahul. Brilliant point, because that is why I was trying to explain the terms of relative turnout. You know, I coined the term split vote way back after 2004 election, that it did not happen, and 14 onward it has happening. And this is the second term which I have been trying to really explain how these things work. And this is a brilliant way of pointing through the data, the level of conviction. And the level of conviction, Rahul, is going to impact the relative turnout. There is a turnout, remember, and then there is a relative turnout. Relative turnout is the turnout of the different voting blocks which actually goes into the polling station on the polling day. So if the conviction of the opposition voters on various things are low, then the chances of opposition mobilization on the polling day or opposition turnout of the polling day, that goes slightly down, and the mobilization of the BJP voters, that goes slightly up. And that makes a lot of a difference, as we have seen in Madhya Pradesh elections, assembly election. So any differential turnout, that all these issues and things that they are impacting on, including, by the way, the claim of or the debate of 400 par and 370 for BJP, as Prime Minister said on the floor of the Parliament, all these are aimed at impacting the relative turnout. That our voters should be more and more enthused to go out, and other voters, as Ashutosh said, the otherizing the others.
Ashutosh, do you have this concern as well? We saw this in Gujarat, where the BJP ended up with 150 plus out of 182, and the reason that it happened is that the opposition vote got split between Congress and AAP, and more importantly, because the opposition just didn't seem like they were fighting. One is that the BJP is going all out to fight. The other is the opposition counters it as hard as they can, and they make it an equal duel, right? But if the opposition leaders start conceding that mushkil lag raha hai, we may lose, opposition voters then lose their conviction. And even if 10 people had to go out and vote, 6 or 7 actually go, the others stay back at home, and the BJP ends up winning bigger than it could otherwise, because they simply are able to pull more people out of their homes and bring them to the polling booth, whereas the opposition can't do that.
See, Rahul, Gujarat has been one of the greatest conundrum of the India's electoral politics. Why the Congress did not contest? And I've been asking this question: why the BJP? Because the Congress seemed to be had given a walkover to the BJP, and that's one reason. But the bigger reason was the split of votes. I am not saying that if the Congress had fought bravely, then the Congress would have made some kind of a dent over there. But the bigger question, in my opinion, is that right now I think there is a churning in the society, and my fear is that the BJP knows this churning is happening. BJP knows that 2004 can be one of the can repeat. So BJP is more vigilant, more organized, more disciplined, and it wants no damage to be done. And that's one reason they had gone out of their way to clinch a kind of alliance in Odisha. They are in Andhra. They are talking to the TDP, and they are in Akali Dal in Punjab. They are talking. So they don't want to leave any.
Let Mohan Kumaramanglam respond to this. 2017, the Congress fought hard in Gujarat. Top BJP leaders have told me that they had sleepless nights before polling day because they were really concerned. Their own polls were showing them trailing. 2022, the Congress just gave a walkover. And are we seeing a similar thing happening now, where the campaign isn't coming together in a way that you're landing meaningful punches? You aren't fighting as hard as you could or should. So many of your leaders, look at Arjun Morwadia, you have very few leaders in Gujarat. They also decide to leave. They think leadership nahi hai. This is happening it happened in Kerala as well with Karunakaran's daughter. So it's happening continuously, and it's happening pan-India.
Rahul, I mean, Karunakaran's daughter, I mean, really, let's talk about serious Kerala leaders in the Congress. And I can guarantee you we're going to sweep Kerala. So let's not compare that to Gujarat. I will give you Gujarat. I have no idea why. I know that we fought extremely hard, like you say, in 17. We gave the BJP leaders sleepless nights. We came very close to a victory. And then there was a very young and dynamic leader in our party called Rajiv Sadhab, who was also the Youth Congress president. He passed away. He was in charge of that state. I think somewhere down the line, there wasn't a proper person replacing him, or there wasn't that kind of organization that he had built up. A lot of it had dissipated. So yes, I give you that fight was not to the extent that it was. It should have been rather. But in this election, Rahul, I'm saying the elections are going to be announced. Our alliances are being completed right now with every state. We are far ahead of the BJP when it comes to sheet sharing with other ally partners.
What are you talking about? How is that? They've announced almost 200 tickets. This weekend they'll announce at least 100 more. How are you ahead?
We are already done with one CEC. We have one more CEC on 12. You will also see us announcing seats where we are standing in our own party, not with alliance partners. I'm saying a lot of our alliance partners, alliance deals have been done.
Come on, Mohan Kumaramanglam. Serious people watch this channel.
Rahul, let me finish, Rahul.
Sir, no, but 1 second. Look at what you are saying. Dekho to sahi kya bol rahe ho. You are saying you are ahead in the ticket distribution race, even in states where they didn't have alliances. Look at what they've pulled off or on the verge of pulling off in Orissa, getting BJD and BJP. For a political analyst like
Rahul,
me, it is inconceivable that the number one, number two party will agree to an alliance. Look at, they're far ahead. They're running circles around you when it comes to the political alliance formation game.
Rahul, hold on. Where is the alliance formed right now? You're just talking about it. You get excited even when they start talking about something happening. We make something happening and you're like, kuch hua hi
What
nahi.
have you made happen?
I mean by try to be a little less biased, yaar. When we did it with AAP, for all that time you were shouting, yaar, inka Aam Aadmi Party ka kuch hona nahi hai. They're never going to get together. When it happens, you're like, अरे ये लोग क्या करेंगे साथ में मिलके? Please, यार, calm down. जब हो जाएगा ना तब बात करेंगे उसके बारे में. Is all I'm going to say.
Okay, let Raghav Awasthi respond. So that's a good point. That's a good point, and I concede that it hasn't happened yet. It's quite inconceivable that 1 and 2 can get together, because in Punjab, AAP and Congress can't come together because they are 1 and 2. In Orissa, somehow, if they're able to come together, it is quite politically inconceivable. This is not normal logic. I mean, this is not political arithmetic. This is not how it plays. It's being played at a different plane. But Raghav Awasthi respond to Mohan Kumaramanglam's point that BJP does a little bit, people get excited. Congress did, to its credit, at least announce that in Uttar Pradesh and in Delhi, there will be an alliance. They're not getting any credit for that. Jawab do.
As far as Delhi is concerned, it is unique, right? Because I think, as somebody rightly pointed out, Sheila Dikshit ruled Delhi for 15 years and she was an immensely popular chief minister. And here there is a guy who built up all of his political capital abusing Sheila Dikshit, saying that she is corrupt and whatnot. And the Congress today wants everybody to be impressed by the fact that they are entering into a subservient subsidiary alliance with him. I mean, what it basically...
subsidiary?
Of course it's subservient because he's getting more seats, you're getting
because they've won.
That's the subservient.
Oh wow, one seat difference makes it subservient. Interesting. Okay. But you can perceive it any way you want to. If it was 5 or 2 or 6 and 1, I think you could have some merit to your argument here.
For 15 years, sir. So 15 years you ruled this state, and this man...
So I have a few minutes left in this broadcast. I want to go across to all our pundits and try and understand what can happen next, because the political stock exchange is not just about looking at what has already happened, where you assess it in the rearview mirror. Now try and do some crystal gazing. Yashwant Deshmukh, I'll start with you. Given where we are at this juncture in the political campaign, what are the issues that you think can play out? What can change from where we are? Do some Bhavishyavani for us.
Well, the Bhavishyanis will be coming in the further trackers for sure. But the way they are looking in the mood of the nation poll for India today, we had red flagged 4 states. What I'm consistently finding is amusing is that the NDA's or BJP's ability to go around the issues that they feel are important. In Karnataka, the red flag state, they took in the JDS, in Bihar, they did the impossible thing once again. As we know, in Maharashtra, as we are talking, I am reading the report that BJP is likely to contest 36 seats, and that is a very critical number because we have seen in the MOTN numbers that the probability of Modi dividend is more on a BJP ticket and less on Shinde or Ajit Pawar ticket. So they are moving around, and I think it's just the flexibility that we are going to see more and more on these grounds. And while the India Alliance partners, they are partners I am talking about, they are contesting their own state big time, very well. But I think somehow, unfortunately for the Congress, whatever they are doing is kind of not really helping Congress to fight the 200 main seats where it is the Congress versus BJP. And unless that changes, nothing is going to change, Rahul, because nobody is blaming...
There's no Josh in the campaign. Okay, Mohan Kumaramanglam, respond to Yashwant's assertion that you are charged up on this campaign. You're putting up a spirited defense. But if you look at the vast majority of Congress Karyakartas, leaders, they don't seem to have the same enthusiasm that you're demonstrating on this show. And you're not even contesting, I assume.
No. So, Rahul, I wasn't on the Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra, but if I look at what broadcast media is doing with it, they're barely covering it or talking about what's happening. So I actually reached out to people who were there and asked them if there is resonance on the ground for the same. And they say that every area that they're passing through, they're seeing a lot of excitement and a lot of resonance from people and a lot of feedback for the issues that Mr. Gandhi is talking about. Of course, I know that you would sort of think that his issues are not meaningful, or he says caste out of turn, and those aren't getting any resonance. But from what I'm hearing from on the ground, there is definitely resonance for the messages that he's putting out there, and there is traction amongst the cadre who have started working. So I will have to disagree with you, because I know the picture you're trying to paint is that the Congress isn't doing anything. But if I look at what's happening in Delhi in terms of alliances, or if I look at the manifesto being done and the CEC happening today and also on the 11th, we're announcing seats, we're forming alliances, we're getting our message together. What else do you want us to do? We don't have...
You're getting your message together, sir.
$13th,
14th, or somewhere there, they'll announce the dates of polls. You're still trying to get your message together. You announced that you will announce the youth manifesto, and then it got cancelled because you didn't want to do it that day. So there's all of that as well.
Listen.
You are still in the process.
We have already announced some of our major measures that we intend to take, like the guarantee of apprenticeship. I have not seen anything from Mr. Modi except that I'm a victim. You are my parivar, but these are empty promises. This is just rhetoric.
Yashwant, do you buy this? Mohan's argument that there is a 2004 kind of moment that mainstream media, like they got carried away at that time with Pramod Mahajan, are getting all excited, that there is churn within society from within, and when results come out, you'll be shocked and surprised.
Well, from the numbers and purely arithmetic perspective, Rahul, I don't buy this for a simple reason. The 2004 campaign was based on a 1999 vote share baseline that Congress in 1999, when Atalji became Prime Minister, polled 4% more votes than the BJP. BJP was 24%, Congress was 28%. And to build on over that, it was easier probably in 2004. BJP got down by 2 points, Congress went up by 1 point and made all the difference. But in 2019, the baseline has changed, Rahul. Congress is below 20%, BJP is about 37%. There is a gap of almost 20% vote share between these two parties as far as the baseline is concerned. So from a 4% surplus to a deficit of 20%, that's a 24-25% swing that Congress needs if they really wish to do 2004 again. And that is a really hard task, not impossible.
Sure. So just so that you know, the point that Yashwant is trying to make is, given the gap between 20 and 37, so there's a 17% gap over there. For this to change statistically, it will require that there be massive tumult in society. You can feel it. If and when that happens, you will see it, you will feel it, you can hear the anger, the frustration out on the streets, elsewhere being voiced very, very openly. A 17% vote share jump, vote share switch doesn't just happen, because these guys need to come down by 10%, they need to go up by at least 10% for it to become an even keel battle. For more than that to happen, just imagine the scales tilting. It will require a massive tumult. Are you seeing tumult around you? Is something that everybody needs to think about and come out in whichever way that they will. I want to thank our guests for joining me on this week's edition of the Political Stock Exchange. I really like this political adda because there's frank conversation, there are deeper, sharper insights than you get to see when two leaders are going going at each other. That's no fun. I don't like that. This is more sensible. It's driven by data. You can get to understand things in a statistical framework and shape your opinion based on how a vast number of people, a big number of people are thinking about those issues rather than just one leader or one viewer's view on a particular issue. So we'll be back with the Political Stock Exchange. There's a lot happening. Rahul Gandhi has been talking about caste again and again. How is that playing out in the public eye? A potential alliance in Andhra Pradesh between the BJD, Janasena and the BJP, TDP. So how does that play out? The alliance in Orissa between the BJD and the BJP. So all of that, so much excitement, so much buzz in the Political Stock Exchange. So how is that impacting the players? So do join me again when we come back next week with the next edition of the Political Stock Exchange. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on the other side.